Hey listeners, it's Shon here. I'm about to tell of some of my experiences with Candida, how it broke me, and how I was able to get it under control. So this is not medical advice, it's just my experience unique to me and what I did to try and help heal myself. So today I'm going to talk about diets, the different diets that I tried when I had the Candida. How confusing can some of these Candida diets be? Over the years I've read lots of books and I've looked at lots of websites, and I've actually spoken to a lot of different people as well, like naturopaths and homeopaths, GPs, and it seems to me that a lot of the Candida diets are quite different. Like some of the diets I've seen is you are allowed a certain amount of dairy, cow's dairy. You're allowed a certain amount of nuts and seeds, and some to completely exclude these things altogether. So I wasn't really sure which diet to follow. I found that it was very, very hard to put my faith into some of these diets because they were all so different. So I find also that a lot of people, they will go on the Candida diet and it is just so restrictive and so hard to stick to that a lot of people cheat after a certain amount of time. I was able to stick to the Candida diet pretty strictly for about 6 months, and I couldn't stick to it for much longer than that. But what I would find is that I would do a Candida diet, do a Candida killing regime, and every time I would cheat or stop doing it, the Candida would come back, and each time I did that, each attempt at killing it and failing, the Candida would come back, and it grew in severity each time I failed to kill it off. So just over the years of trying to get rid of the Candida, it just got worse and worse and worse. So let's just have a look at my diet when I was growing up. So it was quite simple when I was a child. It was a lot of home-cooked meals, sandwiches, like home baking. We had minced sausage, mixed vegetables, mashed potatoes. We had a veggie garden, and my parents used to fish a lot. So we didn't really have a lot of sweets or processed foods when I was growing up. So my diet I didn't think was too bad at the time. But as a teenager, having a lot of sleepovers and parties with friends, I would binge on chocolate and sugary drinks. And by my late teens, I was getting a little bit chubby, with the whole hormones and everything changing, and I developed an eating disorder where I would starve myself all day at school, and then I would get home and I would eat dinner and then I would vomit it up. So that wouldn't have been very good for my health and well-being. And by my late teens and early 20s, I used to binge drink a lot of alcohol, and I also used to smoke, so not very good healthy choices there. And this sort of leaked out into my food choices. I didn't make very smart food choices. I wasn't really well educated on nutrition or that sort of thing. So what happened in my early 20s was something woke me up. I had a traumatic experience with having a miscarriage. So this actually started me on a journey of self-discovery. I woke up to myself and decided to start eating a lot healthier and exercising and losing a lot of weight. I actually joined up with Amway as one of the consultants, and they had a 6-week health challenge, and I ended up joining that. So that was really good for my health and well-being. However, partway through this challenge, I started getting really bad constipation, and I didn't know it at the time, but I have a feeling that was part of the Candida dying off, and my body just locked up. So I ended up giving that a rest after, before the actual 6-week was up because the symptoms got so bad. So during that 6-week challenge, it was much like a like a healthy mummy diet that you would have these days, where you'd have 6 smaller meals and really healthy alternatives like Greek yogurt instead of sour cream, mountain bread instead of wraps, that sort of thing. Excuse me. So after I tried that diet, I actually decided to do a body sculpting competition. So this was a 12-week program, so I ended up eating a lot of protein during that time, very little carbs, and I started having a lot of trouble with my bowel movements, and eating the amount of eggs I was having, like I was having 3 eggs every day, like 1 whole egg and 2 egg whites. I was getting a lot of gas and a lot of digestive discomfort from that. The constipation got quite bad during that time. I remember even when the competition was finished, that night I ended up eating, because I wanted to eat something light and not too heavy, so I ended up having some dried fruit after that competition. But that was a really bad mistake because I didn't know it at the time, but all that sugar that I'd been starving my body, the Candida would have taken hold of that, and I just blew up like a blimp, like a balloon. It was just absolutely terrible. The bloat that I had and the abdominal pain that I experienced after having the apricots was just horrible. And I was talking to another bodybuilder, sculptor at the time, and she was telling me that she used to get constipated as well, and she would have to have 2 packets of prunes just to be able to go to the toilet while she was training. So another diet that I tried over the years, once I found that the lots of animal protein wasn't really helping too much, I actually tried switching to be a vegan. So I cut out all my dairy. I didn't have meat, I didn't have eggs or any animal products. So this diet was quite clean for me, and I found that some of my digestive discomfort was gone a little bit, but I still could not eat fresh fruit without getting a sore stomach. I still got bloating and I still got gas and I was still sore. I also started getting brain fog and anxiety as well. So I thought, well, I've tried these other 2 quite healthy diets, so why, I'm now a vegan, why am I still getting a sore stomach? I couldn't figure it out. So after a lot of reading and talking to other people that have had digestive problems, I decided to read a book that was suggested to me about the Atkins diet. So for those of you who've never heard of the Atkins, it's where you would eat pretty much fat and protein and very little carbs. I think it's like under 80 grams of carbs a day. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I decided to give this a go because after reading about Candida, multiplying by using carbs as their food, I thought, well, I'll give this one a go and see what happens. So it worked quite well for the first few weeks. A lot of the bloating and discomfort went away, but the suggestion with that diet was to use psyllium husks or metamucil to help ease the constipation. But I found that the psyllium husks actually made me worse. So that was not a long-term option for me to be on the Atkins diet, unfortunately. So years went by and I was sort of just tried to muddle through as best I could with eating whatever I could and avoiding the things that would upset me. And I moved over to Australia and I met up with this really great naturopath. Now she had designed her own diet plan, which was quite good, but I found it very restrictive. There was no dairy, no tomato, potato, no bread, no fruits, and no nuts. And a lot of the time it felt like I was dying. And I found it really hard to stick to. She had designed her own recipes and eating plans and all of that, but I just found it after a certain amount of time I just couldn't keep up with it. And when you would have cheat days, it's almost like you're back to square one, no matter how much work you'd done beforehand. So a few more years went by, and I was doing more research. I never gave up researching, by the way. And I came across Don and Toilet Almond. Now these are two, I think, American guys, and their theory is that your food is your medicine. So they also talk about this interesting concept that food has a signature that relates to the body. So just for an example, what they would say about carrots is if you slice it crossways into the little round circles, if you hold it up and you have a look at it, you can see the resemblance to the eye with the iris and the pupil. And they say, well, they're good for your eyes because they're full of vitamin A. And that's just one example. So I tried this 14 days to a new you diet that they have, and they basically compare it to a reset button for the body. So I thought, well, I'm going to give this a try. And it's 4 days on a clay psyllium husk sort of shake, and then 10 days on eating this pulse. Now this pulse is like an ancient recipe found in the Bible, and it's a mixture of germinated grains and pulses, dried fruits, and nuts and seeds. So I tried this 14 days to a new you, and I was a bit skeptical because in the past the psyllium husks have really made me constipated and not really helped me at all. So the 4 days on the shake, the idea of it was to fill out your intestines, and then you would have the salts and there was bentonite clay inside this mix, and the clay would actually suck all the impurities out of your intestines. And then by the end of the 4th day, you would flush it all out. And then your intestines would be completely clean, and then you would put the good pulses inside your body. You would have 150 grams of this pulse that you would just snack on during the day. Well, I was pleasantly surprised that after I did this, I had a lot of problems with acne over the years. I found that my acne completely cleared up. I was able to eat dried fruit without any discomfort afterwards. I was able to eat fresh fruit again. There were a lot of things that I could eat that, I couldn't eat before doing the 14 days to a new you. It was a really fantastic thing for me to experience. So I decided to do this at least once a year, just to give my body a good clean out. But the only problem with it is that no matter if I did do it every year, I would still have some Candida symptoms. Like the anxiety was still there. I just couldn't figure it out. I would still get a bit of constipation. Like it just slowly crept back over the months. So another thing I did try by Don Tolman was the Kabbalah juice fast. Now this is a really interesting fast because the Kabbalah, it's a recipe where C stands for carrot, A is for apple, B is for beets, A is for apple again, L is for lemon, and A is for apple. So you got 3 different types of apples in there, and they recommended using green apple, red apple, and yellow apple. And this juice was absolutely delicious, but I just found it too expensive. Oh, excuse me, there's just a big truck outside. So I found it really expensive, so I didn't keep that up for too long. But I did find that after doing the juice fast, I felt really great while I was doing it. My mind cleared up. My digestive tract was nice and flowing. However, when I went back to eating food again, the Candida would just come straight back. So that was not a long-term solution for me to do juice fasts. So another thing that I tried was the warrior diet. So that one is where you would fast for 18 hours, and then you would have a 6-hour window in which to eat your a daily amount of calories. So I tried that for about a month, and that didn't really have too much of an effect on the Candida, so I ended up not doing that one again. One other thing I tried was the eating program that I got from a nutritionist, a certified clinical nutritionist in America. His name is Michael Biamonte, and out of everyone that I've been to in my life, he is the one that has been the most knowledgeable about Candida and Candida-related illnesses. He had a diet that I would follow, and it was quite restrictive. Like, there were things on there saying you can only have, a quarter of 1 carrot a day, or half an avocado, or you can't have any dairy at all, but you can have goat cheese or goat milk, but only a certain amount. Like, it was a very, very restrictive diet. And on top of that, I also had leaky gut restrictions because I tested positive for leaky gut. So everything I ate had to be cooked, absolutely everything, and that's including any oats, any grains, avocado, apple, everything had to be cooked. I couldn't have any raw food whatsoever. So, and I was actually supposed to stay away from fiber. So that was not a very exciting diet at all, and I actually felt like I was really dying during that stage, during the initial stages, but I actually did feel a lot better doing that diet from Michael Biamonte. So if anyone wants to contact him, he's very, very good. I'll leave his contact details in the description. He's not giving me, any kickbacks or anything for mentioning his name. He has no idea, but yeah, I'll leave the details down there for you. But that, I would have to say, he was the best. The advice he gave me worked the best out of everything I tried. So let's just go over some of the foods that used to make me really bad while I had the Candida. So Vegemite. Vegemite was, it's a yeast-based spread. Used to give me anxiety attacks, and the day after I would get thrush, and I would actually get muscle and joint aches from eating that. It was quite bad. And dairy used to really set me off too. I would get anxiety with that, and I would get clicky joints, and I would get bloating. Fruit, especially grapes and oranges, they were the worst. I could eat maybe half an orange or like a small handful of grapes, and I would have really, really bad bloating and gas, and I would have to lay down for about an hour after eating them because I would have so much pain in my stomach from them. And sugar used to be quite bad too. Of course, I'd start having anxiety attacks, and I would get really bad brain fog, and I would get chronic fatigue after eating sugar. So it wasn't really fun not being able to eat any of that without any consequences. So what about now? Well, I think you'd be pleased to hear that I can pretty much eat whatever I want. I can eat fruit, so I can eat apples, I can even eat grapes and oranges now without any discomfort. So that is just awesome. I can eat dried fruit. I can have my apricots without being sore. I can eat dairy, and I can even have alcohol if I wanted. Like, there's literally not too many things that I cannot have anymore. You have no idea how liberating that is, being able to choose what you want to eat instead of having your body dictate to you what you can and cannot have. I still have a small amount of sensitivity when eating Vegemite or having Greek yogurt, but I don't have the symptoms that I used to. Nowhere near the symptoms that I used to have to. Like that I used to have. Like, I could have a little bit of Vegemite on my toast and I might get a little bit of itching in my inner ear, and if I have Greek yogurt I might get a little bit of dandruff, but that's all. I don't have any anxiety attacks, I don't have any of the joint clicking, anything like that. So this is just a great story for people out there who have Candida. It's just a great story for them to hear, that don't lose hope. Just don't lose hope and don't stop searching for something that works for you, because I definitely understand how bad it can make your life. I've definitely suffered for many years and I just really understand what some of the Candida sufferers out there are going through. So I hope you've enjoyed this little story, and I'll be talking about all the different doctors and practitioners that I've seen over the years in my next podcast. So stay tuned to hear from me then. Thanks for listening.